Okay, this is a new series that I want to start that's going to review emails. So there's a couple other folks that do this. What I want to focus on is um, really like the structure and the effectiveness of what the email is trying to do. So I have a checklist of a few things that I go through. I'll I'll do minimal comments about the design just because number one, I'm not a designer, so I would probably steer you in the wrong way. But I'll make some initial comments just as like a user that's digesting it on whether I feel like the design is helping accomplish what the email is trying to do. And so yeah, we'll go through this. I've got a lot of emails that come through, so we'll be able to pump through a lot of review and just see kind of like um, how effective these different emails were, what we can learn from them. All right, so the first victim of this series is going to be an email that I got from Outreach. So this will be the structure of how we do this. I'm going to just go through the email so you can see what it looks like. And then I've got a series of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, like 7 or 8 things we're going to check on it and to evaluate. So, and then along with like the generic design comments. So this comes from their success team, their customer success team, and it's part of a series called their strategy spotlight. So I haven't digested this too much, so I don't know the frequency of it, but obviously it's a newsletter type send um, that is geared towards strategic use of outreach. Which, if you don't know what they do, they send they kind of automate sales sequences, uh, and most of them are all text-based. So, all right, so we've got this newsletter. Here's the content. So from the generic design comments, I actually think it looks pretty good. Uh, Obviously, from a branding standpoint, I feel like it's on point. The one thing that I feel like from a design that kind of uh, not confuses me, but catches me a little bit is there's just a lot going on. So uh, obviously this image here at the top, and then I've got a big screen, so it would be interesting on a smaller screen to see what is above the fold. But immediately above the fold there's these, and I actually get a little distracted by those, and then it even, there's more down here. But that's really the only thing I'll comment on the design. So let's look at the most important thing I feel like to look through is whether or not the email accomplishes what it's designed to do. And this one is obviously trying to get me to visit a blog post that's going to help me use outreach. So building a content committee. So they've got this article, and the CTA is the main CTA is pretty clear, at least up at the top, and it says that this new article will help you learn how to build an all-star content committee. That's pretty applicable to me because as a marketer, we're creating lots of content and working with the sales team for that too. And so yeah, it makes sense. So I feel like it does a decent job. Like as a newsletter, it does what it's supposed to do. Let's look at the subject line. So the subject line is pretty good. Quite honestly, I think it's fine. You can see that they don't. It's fairly long, and I have no problem with length. There's a lot of disagreement on whether the length actually impacts open rates. I'm of the opinion that it's not that big of a deal, as long as you can write it well enough. And I feel like it's good. I clearly understand that it's a newsletter series here, since it's just from a generic outreach address here, so they need the subject line to indicate what the content is. So I know it's part of the series and building a content committee. So the subject line's good. I don't think it would necessarily stand out uh, super well from everybody, but the clarity in knowing that it's part of this series goes a long way. So let's look at the pre-header text. So this is something, so the email's right here. The pre-header text is a miss. So you can see it's outreach sales engagement platform, outreach sign in, outreach strategies. So I don't get anything. It's pulling all of that from this stuff up here. And what would be nice is if there was just like a summary of what I would be expecting from that. You can see too from like a length of the subject line, it goes pretty long. So if I mark this as in red, there's not a lot of space. So that is one thing to consider when you've got a long subject line when it comes to desktop. Okay, so pre-header could be helped. Images, do they load quickly? So I'm big on this one. And loading quickly is just a matter of size. So I've double checked their sizes, and the banner is, here they are. The banner is the biggest one, and it's at 187 kilobytes, so there's no issues. I actually am pretty aggressive with image sizing, just because, especially in like a mobile world with spotty data in certain places, I don't want to risk images taking too long. Generically, you'll see lots of people suggest that the maximum image size you want is 1 megabyte, and I try not to even get close to that. Alright, copy and grammar. So I'm really lenient when it comes to this. I'm not like, it's like, oh, you missed a comma here or whatever. I'm just looking for the big things. And as I read through this, I don't find any issues. The content is clear, that on what I'm going to get. And I didn't see any grammar issues at all. So typos, redundancy, stuff like that. So they did a good job. Alt text on the images. So they don't have alt text on any of their images. Alt text is hit pretty hard from an SEO front, which email has no impact on. So really, two things that this would help with is if you do it, if images are loading slowly, then it helps, like have a good placeholder there. And then for those that might be visually impaired as well, when they get them, it helps those folks. So there's a lot of people in email that don't do it. The one thing I will say that is good is that they don't have like the test or just some filler in there. There are some email platforms that'll, or if you copy and paste from somewhere else or whatever, it's easy to forget those little things. So yeah, and at last, do all the links work? And I clicked through all of these, and they do work. Goes to the article. All of these different links down here go to where they're supposed to. So no issues. So overall, a pretty decent email. The biggest things for improvement that I might consider is making it a little less busy, but it's clear it accomplishes what it needs. I would fix the pre-header text so that there's something there, and then consider doing alt text on the images. So that's the first round, and there will be more of these to come.